Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to round 4 of the Nordic Championship 2019 summer season, brought to you from the Monster Energy DreamHack studio. It's a new day, a new patch, and we're approaching the halfway point of the round robin as we head into day 4 to bring you more Nordic League of Legends. Joining me on the cast desk, as always, is the one and only Trouble Inc. What's good, Trouble?
Hello, hello, hello. Happy to be here for yet another day full of best of threes, two in particular. But of course, before we run straight into the schedule, let's have a look at the standings because some teams have started to form the dominance at the top of the standings. It is, of course, no one else other than Falcon and Ventus, the Danish and Swedish powerhouse, sitting at 3-0, which is going to be a fantastic match to cast next week. But let's focus a little bit on the bottom of the standings right now because these are two teams, Dusty and Celestial Gaming, who have not been able to strand two wins together in a best of three to grab that win that they need to get unstuck from that bottom of the standings. And we are casting at both of them. So guys are going to see both of them today. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today, and of course, the need of these teams grabbing their first victory tonight.
You really have to start getting the ball rolling if you're Dusty and Celestial. Obviously, looking at last season, both of these teams did not do too hot in the round robin then. But yeah, it's definitely important for them to secure their first wins if they want to try to grab these playoff spots, obviously needing to reach top 6. Today, we will be watching Dusty and MJ for the first match of the day. And 2 days ago, we argued that due to the low coverage and mystery of the Icelandic region, who for the first time this year joined the other 4 regions with having 2 representatives, it would be difficult to predict beforehand just how strong a squad like Dusty would be. And on that day, we both had many of our questions answered, and at the same time, many more questions arose. The series versus Neon was one of the bloodiest best of threes we've ever seen, and I have to be honest with you, Trouble, Dusty looked like an absolute wild card. Within gameplay that was riddled with blind face checking, mechanical misplays, and a tentative approach to pressing advantages, there were, however, some glimmers of hope sprinkled in there. Hoyes looked good on both Kaiser and Zaya. Adi had some amazing defensive plays, and Baron Nashor was
Joachim?
Baron Nashor was subdued and claimed by Joachim entirely. So there's hope, but improvements and fine tuning is required to say the least if Dusty want to try to reach for those higher standings. And they will face MJ in the first series of the day. What do you have to say about MG Trouble?
I mean, MJ have showed a really good and a bad face in this tournament all at once, sitting currently on 1 and 2 in the standing. So somewhere in the middle of the mix from third to eighth place. So everything is possible for them. Of course, they need to get that victory. Dusty is all the way down at the standings. They need to get that victory to get them rolling, to get them into the playoffs. And of course, we're talking about, the team who finished first in the Finnish Esports League, and now they're coming into this tournament as an early mid-game oriented team where it mainly depends on the jungler making the plays. We saw Debu on Elise and Lee Sin. He literally favors these early game junglers, but a little bit of a point to make here is that most of the pressure has come from the bot lane. VL going huge on Zaya in the first game of the best of three versus TFT was that glimmer of hope MJ needed to push through. I think he ended on something like 10-0 and 10 into
Yeah,
that
something
game.
ridiculous.
It was crazy. And then again, the last game on the Draven, that was a little bit painful to watch because he was sitting on so many stacks and the Debu was all over the map except bot lane. It was like, feels bad, man. So I would love to see them get their heads together and realize that their win conditions do lay down in the bot lane. They lay on VL's name. Feed VL, give everything to him, grab Debu, get him down the bot lane. Even a lane gang could be considered something that could work for them since it has in the past. Debu is known for his lane gangs. And if I'm not wrong, Lance Minon, we have gone straight into the picks and bans.
We do, and both these teams will have to make some adaptations. Obviously, MJ doubled down, or they tripled down on VL in the previous series. We'll see if they do the same on the day. So, yes, we are heading into picks and bans, and that also brings with us the fact we're running on patch 9.14 as of today, which brings a bunch of cool changes into the game. We've got the added mechanic of shield breaking, for example, on champions like Blitzcrank and Renekton, a Renekton that you've talked so much about and that these teams seem to favor in both the top lane and the mid lane. If you're a Celestial, we'll talk more about them later on the day. So some interesting things here. Many changes, the True Sight added and some buffed anti-healing, etc. So Trouble heading into the first pick phase now as Aurelia Aatrox as well as Zaya Karma are being taken away. Nice ban there for Hoys. Who do you think which champions do you think will have the highest priority going into this brand new patch?
Well, I don't think that much has changed at the moment because there's been about 30 champions changed, like
Oh
buffed and
yeah.
nerfed at the same time, which in some sort of concludes in other champions who were in the shadows before being brought up back to life just because of these changes. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if a champion is buffed, is gonna start getting played, such as the Blitzcrank. I don't really see Blitzcrank getting any professional time on TV anytime soon, unless something changes in his kit. But what we could be seeing is the Renekton, like you said, that has been favored, and of course the Kiana that was not touched. Still a very strong pick, still a priority pick, and Dusty shows it here by first picking it blind. Another thing I wanted to touch on is that with all these 30 changes going through, we literally don't actually have the time to talk about every single one of them. I just want to point out that the Aatrox ban right here is the changed Aatrox. He does no longer revive, but he does get an insane amount of healing throughout his ultimate, which results him in playing towards the electrocute. We have seen him in the LCK mainly played in the mid and top lane with that electrocute, which kind of like concludes to the point that I was making, I think, on the previous broadcast about Kiana. I was like, it seems more so like an Aatrox kind of champion. You know, you get the stun, you get a little bit of a soft CC, and then you kind of smack them with the electrocute, but you don't necessarily assassinate someone, so you're more of a fighter. Aatrox band, of course. Pike, though, locked in for Dusty, and you asked me before, we had a little bit of a chat, and you were like, okay, so if Pike is enabled again, where do you think he's going to be landing this time? And it's going to be absolutely in the bot lane. The W hitting him hard, I'm sorry, the E hitting him hard, which is the stun, with it not doing damage anymore to the minions, really hit hard his wave clear. So he is going straight back down the bot lane, but now he has the buff. Even if he assists with his R, he does get that sweet gold in his pocket. Saying that though, we have two early game junglers here, Lance Minot.
We do. Diru has played that at least quite extensively last or on Tuesday, as you so recognized. There's the Renekton lock-in, obviously. The early game junglers are very real here. Joachim had a fantastic showing on his game one of Lee Sin last Tuesday, where he stole that first Baron node, as you remember so clearly, and
Ooh.
secured that second one for his team also. So a lot of excitement coming in from the junglers here. We'll surely see them try to impact such volatile lanes or such aggressive lanes as the Renekton and the Kiana. And you were quite frustrated with the usage of Kiana, sending that up into the top lane into a Renekton in our first match last Tuesday, I believe. So hopefully you'll be less frustrated on the day. So Ezreal and Lucian taken away, and also we forgot to mention, we didn't forget to mention, but there have been a couple of banned champions for today's matches.
Yep.
Talia, Jace, and Mordekaiser will not be played on the day. So if you're looking at, hey, where is Mars's Jace? Hey, where is the Mordekaiser there up in the top lane, which all teams seem to favor? Well, that's why. They're globally banned for the day. So not also removed, and the final ban will come in before we head into the second phases. So what do
See,
these teams want to achieve with their compositions so far? What do you think?
you're playing that Renekton, which is most likely gonna end up in Tatooi's hands in the top lane because he is the one that has played it twice in the previous best of three versus TFT. Now, you want to make sure that these long-ranged ADs don't make their way through the top lane. Jace being banned globally is a great thing for him because he doesn't have to waste any ban on it. So he has to get rid of the Cannon and the Gna. There is still the Nico AD top lane potential, which we also saw today in the LCK being played and did great against melee ADs in the top lane. Although I want to go back to your statement about Kiana. The problem was not necessarily that it was Kiana in the top lane. I feel it's kind of the same drill with all the assassins. By you putting them in the top lane, we've all known top lane as that lonely island that leaves the top laners all alone. They're like, yeah, guys, whenever you feel like it, whenever you farmed enough and you kind of want to join, you can just TP into the bot lane. Well, if you're playing this sort of assassins, you generally want to have an ignite in your pocket. You want to have that kill pressure whenever you can in your lane. By sticking in the top lane, you're all alone. You're pushed underneath your tower. You have teleport. You don't really have any kill potential. You don't really have any prior potential or pressure potential. It's the same thing we discussed kind of with the Talon. The second you go into Fog of War, all lanes have to be pressured back. But if they see you 24/7 in the top lane, then the team is not really pressured to hide from you. Saying that though, this is most likely going to be a Nico peak for Nipla in the top lane. And we come back to the initial statement of it being a counter pick to any AD top lane. And Renekton, though, could be running to the mid lane as well. It is a flex pick right now.
It is a flash pick, and just rocking that one into the Kiana could be perfectly fine. Obviously, you can send the Nico wherever you want to answer that Renekton. Or with the Kaiser coming in for Hoys. Now, Hoys had
Oh,
a fantastic showing there, and there's the Victor right here, which I'm assuming they want to then scout early on to see where Dusty is sending their Nico and send the Victor up against that. I believe.
I think it's going to be mid lane. It has to be mid lane. It doesn't make sense unless you want to free your Renekton from all the pressure, which I don't really think so. They are actually going to do that and they're going to swap lanes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Dusty is not going to swap their laners around once they're
Exactly.
into the rift. But that thing happens again where if you want to go against the Victor as Kiana, you gotta take your butt and your ignite top lane. So then you're not that great at prioritizing a lane, at roaming together with your jungler. And usually, if you're Dusty, you want to prioritize Joachim. You want to get him all the pressure in the map so you can release him, release that menace that actually stole the Baron all on his own in the previous best of three we casted with him. So I do like both approaches here. I feel like from what we've seen before, they have got, their draft a little bit better down, their plan a little bit better. You see that both teams are playing for that mid to late spike, even though I'm a little bit concerned about the Kalista because you can't get punished really heavily at the start of the game. You don't have that much attack speed, which means you don't have that much mobility. You only have a flash. Sure, you have a Thresher there to try and protect you and save you. But once that flash is down, you're really susceptible to dying to ganks. And Joachim on his lead scene, he really loves ganking early into the game. So VL has to keep himself really, really back into his lane, which means not really much pressure is going to be generated towards the bot side of the map, which is what Debu needs to enable himself. Every single proactivity and every single advantage MJ has ever gotten into a game has been through Debu going down to that bot lane. But then being pressured underneath their tower, you don't really give them any wiggle room because once you're under your tower, you're going to get poked, you're going to get your CS taken away from you. You're going to get generally pressured, and that's not really a great way for your jungle to come into your lane when you're sitting, underneath your tower and you have like 25 minions to try and last hit. You're getting harassed by the enemy bot lane, and then your jungler's like, guys, I'm here. And you're like pinging him back if you're in solo, and you're like, go, go. I have 20 minions to last hit. I can't deal with you right now.
Yeah, you don't want to lose out on those minions, but at the same time, you don't want those minions to be used as a potential dive down there. So Yes, the pressure coming in from Dusty gives Debu a couple of choices, as you said. It opens it up a little bit to focus other places if Joachim will heavily amplify that bot lane. But these are two teams who highly prioritize their bot laners, though. Both of them doubling down on their ADCs. So the decision making of the junglers in this game is something that we'll have to keep an extra eye on. Now, both of them starting that red buff with Lee Sin going for that early level 3 push, I assume, with Joachim there. And I don't know,
Ooh. I actually
trouble?
love the adaptation here from Nipla in the top lane. He's like, all right, guys, we need the Kiana to be roaming around, so we're just gonna keep her in the mid lane and try to deal with the Renekton instead. And then we're just gonna have the farm fest in the top lane. You know, nobody's really gonna be killing anyone. The Victor definitely has the upper hand when it comes to him being the AP. Victor is known to be the strongest level 1 champion there is in League of Legends right now. You know, with one spell, he can deal damage to you, proc his kind of Sheen in quotation, and also shield himself at the same time. So it's obvious that Nipla is going to get pressured back. Now here comes the question though. We have realized that Nipla has sort of been underperforming in the top lane even when he does manage to get the counter pick. So I would just love to see a more laid back version of him, because he needs to realize here that all he just needs to do is farm up, get these items, and then move into the game. Of course, saying that, the two is on a Victor, and we know how madly this champion scales towards the late game. So I think it's going to have to be who outplays who in this game and who managed to snowball their early game lead. And here we come back to the two, I think, people to keep our eyes on in the entire best of 3, which is Deepu and Joachim.
And they find themselves on opposite sides of the map here. So perhaps Joachim looking to alleviate some pressure up there for Nipla against Tatui on the side of MJ. As you said, Nipla, the only thing he really needs to do, like he's running that Glacial Augment, just get those spooky ghosts in there, and the Hextech holes to have that utility on your hands. So a little bit of a reduced amount of responsibility for Nipla for now.
Oh, check out Joachim's positioning right here. He's gonna choose to back off. I was thinking he might go for a little cheeky gank in the mid lane, since Renekton is literally sitting underneath enemy tower.
So
He's
far
gonna choose to
pushed.
back off though, because there's a new wave coming in. You generally just want your Kiana to be enabled, so you don't want to cause any unnecessary fights, because Debu could be there. You don't have any vision of him. You know he's most likely bot side, and he could be sitting in that bot side bush waiting for you to make the first move. So we have him going down the bot lane, which is exactly what we talked about at the start.
There it is. The cocoon lands onto Hoy's Flay, onto Bad Habit. Debu repels away from that turret shot, and Joachim is right there, right on time to dissuade the gank. A little bit of a sloppy execution. Couldn't really have the follow-up there after the cocoon, but they survived. And meanwhile, Joachim gets onto Debu. Debu does not have nowhere to go. It's Bad Habit that gets hooked. Watch Hoy's coming in here. Wait, Joachim dashes away, flashed away by Eru and VL. The heal comes in also. So many summoner spells. MJ lose everything for only Hoy's heal.
I'm a little bit surprised, but Habit did not use his Ignite right there. Possibly they could have forced a kill there, because there are still flashes on all 3 members that were down there by Dusty. So generally, you might want to get your Lee Sin rolling, get that Ignite down, try to get a cheeky kill with a flash. They usually want to keep their summoners, which is something that's questionable, because if you're an early to mid game team, you actually just want to blow all your summoners and get that advantage as early in the game as possible. Saying that though, you forced every single summoner of all 3 members of MJ that were down there, so you can actually try to repeat gank. Now you're the one that has the summoner spell advantage, and you can't not just get 1 kill, but you could get multiple ones.
Yes, with as long as they don't position appropriately. VL and Error, they've been pushing in Hoy's and Bad Habit actually for the majority of this game, so they have been putting themselves in a little bit of an awkward position there. And if they continue on with that same kind of mindset and accruing, yes, more of a CS lead, but they might just end up paying for that one with their own HP bars. But I mean, it's looking good for MJ, honestly, with all of these all of this lane priority that you have. You've got 10 CS across the board, and surely this should allow them the safety and the comfort that they want to transition into that strong mid game later on. Trouble.
It's just a little bit of a complicated comp to run because you don't really have a front line. You have a pseudo front line. Thresh is not really a big tank. Renekton, yes, he can fool the eye. He gets really big. He builds a little bit of HP, might end up getting a Sterak's, but he's not really a big tank like Sejuani, a Trundle up in there. So once he gets targeted and stunned, he can get knocked down really easily.
Ooh,
And
Cocoon lands onto Joachim. Forced to dash away onto that control ward. Merza is right there. It is a 3 versus 2. Adi's Kiana is right there on the corner, but goes back to the minions and says, hello, I want to soak these guys up. Been pressured for far too long. Gladly take that breather there. But yeah, Joachim called out early on. Maybe tells the story of what's to come.
Right, so continue from when I was before. Having that execute potential from like 20 to 25%. Oh, he's going all in, Merza.
Adi, the flash comes in. Joachim is right on time once again. Merza, this poor guy, is looking like a repeat from Tuesday, and he goes down for first blood. Looking so good in the mid lane, but overconfident and times it poorly. Joachim, being the hero that Dusty needs on the day once again.
There you go. First blood going to the person we pinpoint at the start, and that's what he actually needs. Oh,
he hasn't had enough quite yet. Joachim picks a fight with the Debu, but watch Adi's HP bar. He's so low. Debu is such a big threat for Adi to even think of approaching, and perhaps Joachim just chunking Debu a little bit to negate pressure elsewhere, but yeah, questionable indeed.
Alright, so it's a little bit questionable why Adi still stayed in the lane, not a lot of HP, not a lot of mana. Usually you want to use Joachim there on that first blood to try and help you push the lane, but Nibla has a different opinion about this.
He's got his own idea. Forces to 2-his flash now and gains control of that lane. He's been pressured throughout and finally finds that big advantage. And that opens up Joachim in the future. Do you think he'll approach top lane anytime soon?
Oh, 100%. You need to hit Victor now that he's at his weakest, because the further you go into the game, the stronger this champion gets. And you do have the first blood on the Lee Sin. Get that warrior rolling, get him up there, grab more kills, and then you enable that late game on Nico as well. Adi throws in trouble.
Debu finds Adi, clenches fangs straight into this Kiana. But on Merza's here also, Adi goes down, but it is Debu who picks this one up, and it opens up some air dragon pressure here for MJ.
Ooh. Adi there kind of underestimates Fog of War. I think we've seen that a couple of games ago as well. Lance Mino and Merza managed to get a event assist because the kill actually ended up going to the hands of Debu. And I love this. We said that these two junglers would have to go head to head to get their teams ahead. And it is the ones grabbing the first 2 kills of the game. Now, how do you transition that? You see that Merza and Debu are on their way down bot lane and they're looking for a dive.
It's a 3 versus 2 for now, but not 4 versus 2, I should say. There comes the ultimate coming from VL. Bad Habit gets flayed into the team, and it's Merza who secures it. 4 versus 2, surely they should be happy with picking that kill up, because there was no way Bad Habit was going to escape that one. And some pressure, or some plates, sorry, soon to be taken as well.
Great stuff, actually, overall by MJ. They seem to know how to move together as a unit. That was a great actual roam. Maybe it was a little bit readable from the side of Dusty. Merza had just gotten into mid lane. They just grabbed the kill onto Joachim. They kind of, disappear from the map. Where could they be? They might be doing Dragon, but they might also be coming bot lane. Very well done from MJ yet again, grabbing a kill on the Crocodile this time and themselves the Cloud Drake. Well, on the other side, Joachim has to forfeit the Drake, but he goes for the Shelly instead.
Does pick up the Shelly and could perhaps use that to secure some plates of their own. Obviously, 3 entire plates going over to the side of MJ, which balloons this early gold lead for them. And they're looking strong and do pick up that Air Dragon also. Now it does, the onus falls onto Joachim to try to be a little bit more proactive with this Rift Herald to snowball one of his other laners at least a little bit. Man, trouble. MJ are looking so strong right now, actually.
They are. They're actually looking like a great new team, to be honest with you. And I mean, we kind of knew that Dusty might be struggling overall with the teams. You know, they're 0-3 already in the standings. They need a break. They need to do something. You know, Joachim might need to do another steal in this game. He might need to pull, you know, a wild card in here and try to get them ahead. And this is what he's trying to do right now. He has roamed all the way down there, but he has been spotted from all the warding that MJ has laid down, and they are bringing the Renekton down as well. It's a 3v3, but Joachim has been spotted.
Yeah, but luckily he does have that Rift Herald recall if he wants to reposition himself a little bit faster. So yes, they're aware of Joachim's positioning here, but Dibu trusts his teammates of VL and Eru to play accordingly. And with that said, they're just wasting Joachim's time, and we'll be happy doing so. He's obviously now left to continue on with his jungle clear and watch mid lane. Surely they have to do something about Mirza, who rushes Spear of Shojin. How do you like that adaptation against Kiana?
I mean, you get ahead, you want to put down as much pain as possible. This item is actually broken on Renekton, especially when he pops his ultimate. This is the 1v2 potential Mirza is going to try to go for, because sure, Lee Sin holds the kill, sure, he's gone for the warrior, you know, Mercury boots, but once you're around that Renekton and he pops the ultimate, Mirza needs to make sure, of course, he doesn't get baited close to a wall again and get stunned by Adi's ultimate. But I do feel that this Renekton has 1v2 potential right now, and this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to put down the pressure. It didn't work for him in the previous best of 3, but I think he's doing a stellar job this time.
Mirza and Tatui were the two members upon... Wait, hang on, hold that thought. Cocoon lands after Mirza's stun, and it's a cleanly executed tower dive. Adi did not stand a chance. Joe continued to soak up the minions, but surely there's nothing to do here. If Mirza's happy 1v2ing, he'll be more than happy 2v1ing also.
And it felt like MJ came studied into this game. They're like, all right, we're going to leave Kiana open, but we have so many answers to it. We're going to grab the Renekton. You know, she can't kill him early into the game. We're going to snowball the Renekton, double check. It has worked. And now they are denying so much CS, experience, and gold from that Kiana, who needs to be putting the pressure down, you know, who needs to be going around in lanes, trying to get the other lanes rolling, trying to get himself rolling mainly into this game. And for Adi, it's not happening so far. And it feels like the only two Kianas we have seen have kind of fell flat.
They have been slightly unimpressive, but I guess it comes down to how you utilize that Kiana later on, right? Yeah, surely you're bound to get beaten down by this Renekton. Wait, hang on, just a second. Down bot side, both junglers are here, but MJ, they're fishing for it, but nah, nothing's gonna come out of it. I mean, they're hovering still, just in case the other one makes the first move, but there we see it. We're actually, Rift Herald spawned down bot lane.
He was all the way back in his base, so I don't think he
he stayed. He didn't complete his recall. Oh yeah, D-Boost is back in his base, yeah. But Joachim spawns Rift Herald right there, and there are obviously no plates to be taken now. Are they pushing for first turret here? I don't know. Mirza's roaming down. Watch him.
I think they were trying to feed some gold to Hoys, but then the turret platings are down already. We're already minute 15. Now they changed Joachim into the jungle.
Yeah, Joachim's caught. There comes Adi. Repel is a force. Watch Bad Habit and Hoys. They're right there. Surely Dibu should go down. But VL and Eru throws out the lantern, but it's not enough. But watch Mirza. He's laying down so much damage, essentially in a 1 versus 4. Look at this madman. He's going in. What is that? He's having such a 180 turn from his performance on Tuesday. He's coming in hot, and he picks up the crucial kills to allow MJ this first mid turret and first turret of the game.
Wait, Mirza is actually trying to close my mouth about talking, you know, bad about his Jace, I guess. You know, in the previous best of 3, we saw him in. Here he's coming up Huge. Picks up the Renekton, shuts down Addy on a 1v1. Yeah, sure, he ends up dying to Joachim in a failed dive in a 1v1. But look at him now. He literally 1v4'd essentially. He was keeping 4 members of Dusty at bay. That was an actual party crocodile right there, and he's gonna be heading into a lot more damage, and he's gonna be hurting more. I don't know. This Kiana needs to somehow get something rolling, but it doesn't seem like any lane is the correct lane for Adi to go to right now. He doesn't really have a completed item, just the Hydra there to try and clear up the wave because Renekton pushes so hard. Now he doesn't really have a tower to stay under, and bot lane doesn't either. So this gives so much ward potential, so much vision potential for MJ to move into Dusty's jungle and get more and more objectives. This is basically how you need to snowball a game. If you're an early to mid-game oriented team, you grab the crucial objectives earlier into the game, you try to snowball crucial champions in your team composition, and then you snowball from there. And I'll joke him
Watch
though.
this pincer move. Dibu and Mirza, they're in a 1 versus 4, but if Mirza can 1v4, surely they can 2 versus 4. Like, actually being pushed away there. Tatui comes in to do his flash available. Remember, he could flash after, but chooses not to. And watch that. Dusty are being forced away in a 2 and 3 versus 4, or 4 versus 2 and 3 situation here. That doesn't spell a good time for the coming 10-15 minutes for Dusty. Wow.
Wait, I love this right here. MJ are pushing throttle really hard right here. They're like, okay, guys, we have the advantage, which is 5,000 gold lead. 17 minutes into the game is a huge gold advantage that you're having, and you're having it all on your mid-spike champion as well, that Renekton is. And look at all these visions that they have established on the top quadrant jungle of Joachim. This is calling for a 20-minute Baron for me. You have all your tools there. You have all these spiderlings. You have the consistent damage from the Kalista and the spike damage from the Kalista. Another AD mid laner in the mid lane. Another AD mid laner, of course. So you have the double AD composition here. You got the spiderlings. You have consistent damage from Victor. You have everything you need, apart from maybe a mountain drake. That would have helped a little bit more. But I don't think they need it right now to try and bait for this Baron, and not necessarily, you know, to get that Baron down, but to try and bait Dusty into another fight they don't want to take. Look at the items. You got Blade of the Rune King completed. You've got Shojin's completed. You've got the first item for your Victor completed. You've got jungle item going towards Morelos, almost there. And on the other hand, you've got kind of scrambles, you know, bits and pieces here and there. Mana Moon, yes, purchased from Kaisa, but not really completed into a Mura Mana. Not a single item completed for Adi either. Yes, a warrior on the Lee Sin, but he's too squishy right now for this Renekton to get anywhere near. And then Nico with the first item is quite weak. You need at least 2 or 3 items to start really hurting and get into this fight. And your Pike, he's kind of irrelevant at this point. I mean, he's only there for the X marks the spot thing.
Only there for the your cuts, as we see the bot lane now being sieged. Trouble, I think Dusty is such a strange team to watch and predict what they're gonna do, right? Because they have these 2 core tendencies. When they're behind, they tend to face check and just run at you. When they're ahead, they tend to be tentative, they tend to be passive, they tend to be careful. So with MJ, I was about to say, look at the amount of ward coverage that MJ established around that Baron area as it now spawns in just a second here. Dusty, they don't really have any knowledge about what to do, but I don't think they will care. I don't think they'll just, I think they'll just run in there and try to establish something if they think that MJ is on it. And Joachim obviously wants to get in there also. So
Well,
they're weird
he
to
was
watch.
the one that saved it the last time, so you definitely don't want Joachim getting anywhere near the Baron pit if you are attempting to take Baron down. Now, what I really love here is that they have put a 3 on that Victor down in the bot lane, so you are kind of keeping Nicola at bay, and if he tries to TP into the fight, you can stop him, you can actually kill him dead in the spot. And if you want to get both of these members into the fight, Tatui is so much stronger at this point that he can actually take the risk of letting Nipla TP in and TP in himself. As for the rest of the members, at last we have one item on Adi. So yes, the gold lead is 5k. It's quite big for 20 minutes into the game. But then if you're going to attempt Baron, you definitely don't want to leave the 50-50 smite open. So I think what MJ is doing here, they're kind of looking to try and get a pick, try to establish a little bit more vision, one baby step at a time, and then try to force the Baron in a matter that they know they are going to win if they need to turn back around the fight before Joachim gets to the Baron pit.
Yeah, MJ, they kind of need to press this advantage, though. Yeah, they do have that Callista neutral objective securing here, but I mean, you've talked a little bit about how Victor scales infinitely, but the rest of the composition is just straight up mid-game, so this is when they're going to be in the driver's seat. Watch Kaiser, watch Kiana, and watch that Nico. They're just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, so it all comes down to these coming couple of minutes and what MJ can do with them. They've chosen to send Tatui down in the bot side. They've chosen to go for a 1-0-1 kind of ordeal where 3 people pressure the jungle side and just clear out that vision. Joachim, he actually gets Joachim. Kun isn't there, but it doesn't even need it. Dibu
That's all they
gets
needed.
that damage down. That is all they needed. The Baron is now wide open for MJ to take. Nipla's down in the bot side. The rest of Dusty are looking not confident to try to dissuade this one. Well, I say this, but watch Bad Habit and Hoy's here. They're moving in. Are they going to actually go for some sort of...
do it. He's waiting for that TP.
He is. And there is that TP coming in just to cut them off from any kind of shenanigans here. And that should be a very free Baron there for MJ after Joachim falls.
Wait, that was 88 speed left right there at the end. So lucky you got Joachim down at the start.
Didn't secure it. Oh man, they're not clean enough.
That was a great pick by Eru. Cooks the target they need to get down for that Baron play. That's a 23-minute Baron. And I wanted to mention, I was like, okay, so there's this 1v1 going down in the bot lane with Tatui and Nipla, and Tatui is putting so much harassment on Nipla that Nipla actually had to back and go to the base. So it would have, even if they both TP'd in, they've got Tatui.
Nice flash there by Tatui, but he's surely not going to survive that one. There's the kick flash. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this point, and he survives. Are you kidding me? He brawls out of 1 versus 2. There's the resonating story. He kills him off. Joachim dies at the hands of Tatui. What a beast.
Oh, Pyke is coming.
But yeah, Pyke still does Pyke things, I guess.
Wait a minute.
Bad Habits kills that one, and now. Oh wait, hang on. Dibu wants a piece of the meat here, but he's pinched it in between 3. But who even cares?
Them.
Yeah, who even cares, right? Because the rest of MJ is pushing top side. So he goes for the cheeky drive-by in there, but he buys his team enough time to take down that top turret and the mid inner.
I mean, there was 3 members down there trying to kill off Dibu. A little bit questionable when the rest of your outer turrets are being taken down by a Baroned up MJ. Also, you can see the power of that Victor, and hold up, because he's only 2 items in so far, Joachim is as thin as paper. Sure, he can put the paint down, but not as much. And you can see that Nipla's Nico is definitely not there for the damage. Usually when you play that Glacial Augment Nico, you rely more on hitting your roots. Nipla didn't hit his second root down there, which meant that Tatui was able to run away from that fight. Nipla backs off, but Joachim fancies himself the 1v1, which he ends up losing. And in the end, they also lost their last 2 outer towers in mid and top lane.
MJ are turning it all around. The members that were seemingly underperforming on Tuesday have turned it around to 180 degrees here. Merz and Tatui having such fantastic games on the day. Merz now getting that Death's Dance with what GA components?
Oh my god.
Oh, he's going all in on this one. They're sieging the mid lane inhib turret now. Surely, I mean, Dusty, they don't have anything to say about this one. Surely it should just straight up fall. Kalamin will have the last one. Actually picked on one. Nipla catches Tatui, and there it is. Yes. Okay, so some similar tendencies are still well and alive for MJ for now, I suppose.
And even with, I think Tatooine got 2 tower shots on him on that fight. You saw how much damage he was able in that 1 second to return to Nippler. So you allow Victor to cast his Q or E for a second time, you're for sure dead. The Flash
Oh, Flash
Cocoon!
Cocoon lands onto Nippler. He should die here 100%. Mirza, it says, I'm gonna crack my jaws down on top of you. Joachim gets the kick, but he dies.
Oh, the hook!
Beautiful hook by Eru. Gives a kill to VL. Eru tries to predict some sort of flash there, but Bad Habit says, nope, I'm just gonna stay still for a while. But that is the bot lane inhib going down. They have a minion wave. They could potentially look for more. Obviously, the mid lane inhib is open, and off of a clean team fight by MJ, and they secure double inhib.
Wow. All they have to do right now is basically just reset, wait just 2 minutes, and then go again. The only thing remaining in this base is just another tower and an inhibitor. And to be honest with you, there's not a great amount of wave clear, and all of the champions are very short ranged from Dusty, that if you get too close, you see what happens to you. Kalista pulls the ult, throws forcefully Arrow into the fight, playback, and everyone ends up dying. Godlike hook so far, we have been seeing from Arrow doing a fantastic job, and the whole MJ team looks like a completely different team that we saw in the previous best of 3 that we casted for them. And I'm actually really, really impressed, and I can't wait to see, the next game, because I feel like Dusty right now needs to put their minds down, reset, and say, all right, guys, what did we do wrong? What can we improve? And what lane shall we hit? We've got Joachim. Sure, he's doing great. He got the first blood. How do we transition that to even more for us?
Yeah, they didn't really capitalize on their advantages too hard, did they? And that seems to be another one of these Dusty tendencies, right? With them not spiking off of Poise, and now this time off of Joachim's early pressure. And this inaction is leading them to lose games, and the Bad Habit actually he does die there to Tatui. Adi finds the flank, but has the flash away, but flashes straight into the jaws of Mirza. He picks up 2 as Hoyes also dies, and now there's only Nippler still alive, but he got hooked there. Feels bad, man, and that's the delayed ace by MJ-Esports, and they will close out the game to take us 1-0 against Dusty.
Wait, that was actually so clean from MJ. We literally talked about this the previous time. We're like, all right, they've got a plan. They know what they need to do, but it just doesn't seem to work in execution. Debu plays towards top lane. He plays towards mid, but it's bot lane that ends up carrying them in the end. VL popping off. He did here as well, but it was mainly Mirza setting down his dominance in the mid lane, getting that 1v1 versus Adi, and pretty much getting the Kiana to be a non-factor in the game was all Mirza needed to do to stop the pressure from happening from Dusty. So that was great play. That was textbook. Fantastic from MJ. And I can't wait to see what they're going to pull off in the next one.
And being up 1-0 against what many are considered to be one of the more questionable teams allows them a little bit more freedom to perhaps, and I'm just speculating here, but perhaps to show off some sort of a different strategy that they don't intend to use against the best teams, just to throw it out there that, hey, we can play so many different things. We're not just going to play for the patch and all of that jazz. So perhaps they'll have a little bit of fun with the next game, since Dusty, they don't seem to be any different from what we've already seen. And if MJ did their research and did their homework, which I assume that they have done, then there is freedom there to be had. So what do you think Dusty needs to change to come back in the second game, Trouble?
Probably go back to your origins, get Adi on a corky, get him on something that he can wave clear over and over again. He doesn't necessarily need to make plays to shine and get pressure for the entire team. And I think the focus has to be again in the bot lane. Hoys and Bad Habit have not been doing that bad, themselves. So get them on something that they're really comfortable on. Get them on like a Zaya Rakan. Grab the Lee Sin again for Joaquin, because it seems to really be his champion. It seems to really be working for him. And then as for the top lane, sure, Nipla was not obviously underperforming here, but there was really nothing he could impact, the other side of the map with, because Tatui did such a great job at holding him in lane, hosted, and harassing him over and over again. So maybe something like a gangplank again. We've seen him before on the gangplank. Get your ulti to the other side of the map, get that bot lane fed, get them going. And we know that Hoist and Bad Habit can carry from there on.
They really can, and we have to see if these adaptations come into play. Their trouble, all your predictions, to see if they come true in the second game of the series, which we will witness in just a few minutes after these ads. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.